Hey, good afternoon. My name's John with PineTree.net, and I have the great pleasure of being here with Mr. Dooley.
Pleasure to find you.
Now, and apologize for the noise a little bit. We're sitting out here outside at Starbucks, which sometimes qualifies as a PineTree.net office, an Angels camp. Now, you have been. Now, I was looking at your bio and everything. You're very well qualified. You've served for years on. You've been on the board before, but also this is your background in wastewater and things like that as well, right?
I have over 25 years of water and wastewater and hydroelectric experience. 20 years with East Bay Mud, running all their water and wastewater up and country plants and pre-treating all the water that went to the Bay Area. I also on the crew that rebuilt all the hydroelectric generators at Comanche and Pardee dams. After I retired, I went to work for California Rural Water Association, traveling around the state, helping small water systems in their applications for the SRF loans and grants, federal and state, and had to work extensively as a liaison between the systems and the state regulators and the consulting engineers. It's like trying to train earthworms to stand up straight. But you see, I had the rare opportunity to work with the state regulators on their side of the desk to see what they're dealing with.
Got it.
And they have their own set of problems, but between regulators and consulting engineers, they can take a small solution and turn it into a huge solution, costing many times what it needs to. And this is one of the things that I'd like to address. I also, concurrently, while I was with East Bay Mud, I served for 8 years on Calaveras County Water District Board of Directors. We had accomplished a lot of things. I had a great relationship with all the other boards. I knew most of them as personal friends. I had no problems fighting tooth and nail with them, and after the meeting, we could be friends again.
Right.
And I want to get that again. I don't believe in intrigue, and I want to talk now or later about the responsibilities of boards of directors. If you want to ask some other questions first.
Sure. No, I guess that segues into it. I guess that's one of the topics, and I guess probably is a campaign issue. In following not just CCWD, but even the boards of supervisors and things like that this last couple of years, it seems like that lots of times the boards seem to think that they can run the organizations better than the people that they have in place to run them. So tell us what your feelings a little bit on that.
Absolutely not. Even if you can, you don't want to do it. What happens is that you solve a small problem and create a bigger problem. And when people or organizations learn that they can bypass the staff and or the general manager and go directly to the board, the staff and general manager lose all control. And if you go into one and then you get to fights between directors or supervisors, whichever, that they are fighting over who has control of what. And when I was on the board before, I had a lot of success at trying to sometimes shaming guys, saying, look, you can't do this. You're creating bigger problems. If one employee or a group of employees find out that they don't like what they're getting from the senior staff and the general manager, and they go directly to the board, and the board intercedes, then from that moment on, the staff or the workers don't feel like they even have to listen to the general manager. When you commit to, everybody's got a pet project. I was very fortunate to have successfully obtained several nice projects. The only problem is I didn't go out to do it. They fell in my lap. But others wanted to have their name on it. They had their own agenda, and they wanted to create one. And that's the wrong way to do it. I was lucky. I didn't go out to do it, but I was very lucky in getting it. They dropped out of UPA. I was the one that formed the UPA, and Steve Felty, the general manager, and I beforehand were the two that negotiated the acquisition of the Utica project from PG&E and an agreement with the Northern California Power Agency. It was almost almost a 5-year negotiation process. And I was under a lot of pressure, but I stayed on for the second term to do that. CCWD has dropped out of that. I think it was a huge mistake, but that's past. They can't go back now.
Right.
And I'm only personally befriended or friends with a couple of the supervisors, but if I'm on the board again, I'll remedy that. We'll all know each other again. And I've lived in Angels Camp here for 35 years, and we've had our issues with each other, but I would never do anything to harm Angels Camp for the benefit of CCWD.
Right.
And but then again, I would never support any harm for CCWD.
Now, a question. I think, and since you've seen both sides, I think it's good at in the increased regulatory environment that all the districts face, be they large or small. Do you see, I guess, for lack of a better, because from looking at things fiscally, you think it's probably going to be hard for some of these smaller districts to maintain going forward in a regulatory environment. Is that an accurate statement, or what do you think CCWD's role will be the next 10, 15 years or so? I mean, as kind of the big, I mean, should they play Pac-Man and start gobbling up smaller organizations, or how should kind of things start working?
It's like people tend to fear that, but but the reality is that these all would be white elephants. Once you get it, you can't afford to keep it. And systems that want to come in are generally in an inferior state of repair.
Right.
They need to upgrade their deal. They are run by volunteers instead of paid staff. And rates low, and they can't afford to come in. And CCWD or any other bigger water system, the last thing they want is to be saddled with a bunch of systems that would be a financial problem. And if it was mandated by the county or the state, then you would have a mandate to raise costs to whatever you would choose, and you're not going to get that mandate because little water system or wastewater system up the hill here who's artificially paying $20 a month or even $50 a month.
Right.
You take them over and they say, look, we can't do this. You've got to upgrade your system $3 million worth, and your operation costs are now going to run you $150 a month, so you're paying $250 a month. The people won't sit still for it.
Right.
And I don't need that headache.
Right. So I guess the plan would be to take over as few as possible, unless it was forced on your lap, just to let it be. Huh?
The state loves the idea because it's easier to regulate one system than a whole bunch of systems.
Right.
And
Like the Walmart
I've talked to the
Superstar
state
Super
many
King
times.
or whatever.
I've told them you can't do this, and they keep wanting to try. And I know that they can understand, but they don't want to understand.
Right. So I guess in that mean, what do you think will be the biggest challenges for CCWD over this next decade, say?
Well, first of all, immediately we're going to have a huge problem with finances. The governor has they're about to close a deal to solve their budget problem, and in doing so, they're proposing to take all of the property taxes that the special districts get away from them. And CCWD will lose potentially, I believe the figure is, and don't quote me on this, because I'm not positive, but I think it's like $1.3 million per year. And
Are those the redevelopment funds, so to speak, out of that pool?
no, those are the old Prop 13 funds.
Oh, the Prop 13 funds, okay.
Property tax funds from the old Prop 13. At one time, it applied only to Copperopolis and mostly Jenny Lynn. Now they've taken that and spread it throughout the whole county. Unfortunately, for us at CCWD, they're using some of that money for part of the monthly O&M budget. And so if you take that out, ideally that would have been put by for capital repairs, emergencies.
Got it.
But if you take that out there, there's going to be tremendous pressure to raise rates. My attitude is, I do not want to see rates raised. I think that that you can, it's hard, but everybody else having to do it. We may have to cut a lot of expenses to be able to not that sink us. And there's a variation of the old Peter principle, which goes, your expenses will always rise to and slightly exceed your revenues.
Right.
And if you're in a balanced budget now and you double the budget in a very short period of time, the expenses will equal to and exceed that. And that's exactly what's happening to the state now.
Wise words. Now, one of the things that's been kind of one of the buzzwords of the last year or so, there's been a lot of talk of use it or lose it as far as water rights. Does that have some validity, and what do you think? I mean, how are you feeling on that topic?
Everybody that has any water rights needs to be vigilant, particularly if they're already using them. And water rights is a misnomer, and very few people understand water rights, and many people who work with it don't understand it. Not that I'm an expert. There are many types of water rights. You have consumptive and non-consumptive water rights. You have riparian and appropriative rights. Riparian, you have property on there, you can use it for your own benefit. Riparian is when you can actually pump it away from the stream or the river and use it for other beneficial purposes. And most water districts have appropriative rights. You have power rights, which is non-consumptive, but you have the right to that water to generate power.
Which is a lot of the UPA stuff.
They don't consume water, they just use it.
Right.
And put it right back in. But if you take it away, if they have rights to that water to use it, you can't take it away easily without compensating them for that or take it away from them if they have a right on it. And their rights are what they call pre-1914 water rights, which is very superior rights. They came from PG&E when we got the deal from the Utica project initially from PG&E. And because you have, and I hope I'm not going into too much detail here, because you have water rights that are not using it, doesn't mean that you have the rights to go in there and stick a pump in and start taking it out. You can't do that. Okay. And here's another issue. They're dealing down in Lake Tulloch now. They want to increase they have the water rights for more water than they're using, but the state is not willing to give you free to use those water until you show a need for it.
Got it.
So, and once you show a need for it, everybody who has water rights on there, on the lake or the river, they get to all file intervenor status and challenge everything. And the state, and if you have a right for another 10,000 acre feet per year, for an easy number to deal with, but you can only show a need for 5,000 acre feet per year in the foreseeable future, they're not going to let you have the 10, even though you have the rights. They're going to let you have the 5.
Got it.
And then when you get to where you bump it up there and you can show you need for you to have more of it, you can go apply again. But it's a very time-consuming and costly process.
So I think, is it then legitimate to say that, because we've heard from some of the other people, some of the other directors, is that we actually need to encourage more agriculture or things like that use in some areas of the county as far as showing need and using water here for like things like groundwater recharge and that type of stuff, or is that?
Well, groundwater recharge
or is that just one of those?
Is another issue. I went to a meeting here a month or so ago, and I told one of the directors that what you just spent a half hour discussing could have been almost transcribed from a meeting I went to 15 years ago.
Right.
I think a comprehensive solution on the McCallum River watershed for sharing of all the water rights will be achieved sometime after they come up with a comprehensive solution on the Middle East problem.
That and getting worms to stand up straight, right?
Yeah,
is that
that's it.
Yeah.
All right, but they're San Joaquin County and East Bay Mud want to recharge the groundwater. They also want to take off-stream storage for Duck Creek Reservoir. Both those issues I have no problem with, but they want us to be involved, Calaveras County, CCWD, and shoulder some of the costs. And I have no problem with those things, but the benefits to the county, they say, well, they'll increase our water availability, but the availability of water means nothing if you have no way to get it to where you need it.
Right.
And for us to spend money on something that we have a right to but may never be able to use, I have yet to be convinced that I want to spend money on it.
Understood.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying, you want our money for something that may not benefit us? I'm not sold yet.
Understood. Now, I guess in a little bit of a closing thing, what are some of the things, if it's a vote for you for CCWD, what does that get them?
Well, you get my experience. Now, my experience, excuse me, my experience as a wastewater operator, as a director, I do not operate the plants.
Right.
But knowledge of that helps.
I would bet it would.
And the experience now, I had 8 years, and it was probably a good 4 years when I was on there before to get my sea legs under me. Now there'll be a season and time to get there, but it'll come a lot shorter if I'm elected. Then I will not become the general manager.
Right.
And I will not be able to tell the rest of the board what to do. I have some definite ideas that can help the district and the public, but I first have to convince the board that I'm right.
Right.
And then we as a board have to convince the general manager and the staff that we're right. I believe there's some money-saving ways we can do this, but if I lose on both those counts, then I won't be successful.
Understood.
And I have no authority to impose my will. And I remember I used to fight with my mother all the time because she tried to impose her will on me. And I hate people to try to impose their will on me. And I am not going in to tell everybody else what to do and what they're doing wrong. I have to work my way into a cooperative environment with the rest of the board, and I believe I can do that, and I will work very hard to do that.
Well, I think from following board behavior and stuff the last couple of years, I think one thing a lot of you understand is we owe the people who run a debt of gratitude, because running for an office like yours is not taken lightly. You know, you've served in the past on it, and I think I thank you for running. You know, just because I think a lot of people